have set roles since both of you are captain players.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how that one is going to pan out, whether it is going to be Lucky Bread in that captain position again, or whether they're going to swap that one out, depending on how things are going during the game. The Arden is going to be the ban coming out from Hammers, and now TSM have to decide what they want to deny from Hammers moving into the second round of the draft.
Yeah, we could see something like a Kroll get banned away. We see a lot of teams, when they do run this rhyme, take the Kroll off the board, pedal, but it's going to be Vox that they actually decide to take away from starting. The Kestrel's already banned by Hammers themselves, and they just answer with the pedal instead. They feel like the pedal into the rhyme is going to be effective. It'll be curious to see if it ends up being status with the pedal in the jungle, or if they do put it in the lane for starting, as obviously, again, is that flexible option that can go either way, and those are always very strong to pick up before your final pick.
Yeah, I do think that's going to be a flex pick, and it's also a denial pick from TSM because that was a weapon power carry that is very strong in the late game, open for them to pick up for best Chuck with the rhyme, and we've seen so many different compositions that combine those two heroes, so that's a takeaway. So Adagio is left open for TSM, Jewel is left open for TSM. I'm not sure what their choice is going to be. Could be something even a little bit off meta like Ringo. I don't really expect it though.
I would love to see Jewel come through for Team Limited. We know Best Chuck is a phenomenal Jewel player. It is going to be the Adagio though, so they're kind of going with the very durable Ryan pickup. And Churnwalker, same situation, extremely durable, extremely long-lasting hero in team fights. And then you have the Adagio, who's going to be should be the target for Hammers to try and dive in. He's really the only one that's going to be even relatively squishy of this composition.
The Churnwalker pick, while it's strong and it worked out fairly well for them last game, I have to say picking it up against ranged heroes is not the easiest thing to execute on, especially comes late game team fighting. You could see in that last game, it's a lot harder to try and approach your opponents and hook and chain them, because since they're ranged heroes, they can deal so much damage to you as you're moving up. And Churnwalker, if he doesn't have his chains hooked and he's not sustaining through his passive, he's actually fairly squishy.
Not only that, but when you get those chains landed, you're likely landing them from almost max range, which means your opponents can then just walk backwards a couple of steps and break the chains and then re-engage shortly after. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the positioning works in this matchup, with the Samuel coming through as the final pick. It's all three now being a ranged hero on the side of Hammers up against a Rhyme and a Churnwalker. This could be a pretty big advantage for them.
I mean, we talk about how Samuel is good against Rhyme just because he can keep his distance. At the same time, though, Rhyme can invade and apply a lot of pressure since he can last hit over the Samuel and take a lot of jungle camps away. I don't really like it. I don't think Status executed well on it either last game, but they are one up and they're only one game away from taking the series.
This is the thing. We can't be too critical of Hammers. They are 1-0 up in this series. They are close to taking this one. And we want to know whether you guys at home believe in the Hollywood Hammers. Can they take this one 2-0 against TSM? Or will the new version of TSM with this substitute stepping on in be able to even things up? Hashtag Vainglory. Let us know on Twitter. It's time to pass it back again once to Jaws and the Source.
Might not just be once if TSM can come back in this game and take it to a game number 3. Obviously, my name's Jaws, joined by the Source once again. Let's go. TSM now on to the fold. And Lucky Bread, he's got that Churnwalker. But for the first time, can I believe my eyes? We're seeing a Rhyme that isn't actually banned.
Yeah, it's a surprise. And I think FlashX should have a pretty good time on the Rhyme. Rhyme is a very straightforward hero in terms of what he's going to need to do in the team fights. Is going to come down to him landing those Winter Spires and getting off that damage. But at least this strategy for TSM, they have a clear set of objectives and goals.
They want to get in, do damage, and then do you know what comes after damage source? I'll give you a hint. It's kills, and then kills win games. Which is a falsity, by the way. It's completely not true. Objectives win games. That's what everybody should tell you, not kills.
Yes, but kills usually lead to objectives. So
that's true.
It's all one big circle of life here on the fold.
But when you were solo queue teammates and you dive 1v3, and I say that kill didn't really mean much because you died. So I'm just saying. Are you one of those guys that dives 1v3?
Yeah, but then I get all of the kills. It's fine.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. You're a clutch player. You're like that.
I dive 1v3 as Churnwalker and then land all of the chains and then CC the
and go Crystal Power, right? And then just one-shot everybody, like in the
great.
clip? Alright, okay, cool. Well, we'll see if Lucky Bread's going to do that, because I doubt he'll go full Crystal Power, but regardless of that, he did have a good game last game. Let's not take that away from him whatsoever. And I think the Trespass he did get off were pretty good. It just came down to really Status staying alive in the team fights more often than not, and then just ripping through the very defenseless Bestiak and the very defenseless Flash X, who went full glass cannon.
But Flash X is on the Rhyme in this game, so I think it's a better jungle captain combo for the side of TSM, assuming they get in position. If they do, I think Lucky Bread, or at least he'll have the confidence to be able to step up more, because he's going to have that Rhyme to back him up, at least have that character who's in pretty much melee range to follow up on his positioning, and so that they're not running
Flash X, by the way, is a lot of trouble, but yeah, so he's actually just popped the Flask here. He's going to chase Status and he's going to get that fortified HP. Chicken's going to be around the corner also for that Bright Bulwark. Status does pop the Flask also. It was a very, very close shave. Flash X was almost out of energy as well.
Yeah, and a little bit of an unlucky hook from Lucky Bread. He hooked a little bit too early, or at least the Torment pulled back was a little bit too early. It pulled him out of Flash X's Winter Fire, which would have been, that should have been status dead. So TSM, a little bit of anti-synergy there. It doesn't cost them that much. They lose a little bit of gold off some jungle steal and some value of starting all over at the same time in the lane. But Lucky Bread seems to be a little bit more confident on the Shurin Walker now, and consistent damage out of Adagio. I think TSM have a solid composition. On the other side, Hammers though, they now have this weapon-powered pedal. They have the ability to just snipe down targets from so far away. Their siege is similar to last game. It's very strong. They've got a little bit more mobility and sustain with Chicken now on the Lyra. So I feel Hollywood Hammers have the greater composition in terms of safety in this game. The question is, can TSM pull up a good play?
Well, you're putting the onus all on TSM in that regard. Now, Hammers, last game, they did end up giving away the Kestrel, but this time it was banned away by Hammers themselves. I mean, starting all over, kind of famed for his Kestrel play. But I want to see how it's going to do on this pattern, because like you said, their siege is immense, especially with Status on this Samuel as well. I was going to call him Blackfeather for the moment. But TSM, what have they got to really do here, apart from obviously blow up one target? Are they going to have to really just focus down Status, or are they going to have to go for this massive re-engage with some kind of hook combo? Because they've got a lot of CC, and if they can do it, if they can layer it just right, a Trespass into a Valkyrie can really spell the end of a carry on Hammers.
Definitely fighting the juggle, fighting condensed spaces, make it so that you're either in the bush ahead of time, get priority positioning. TSM needs to find good, clean team fights, but they don't want to they don't want to fight in the lane where there's all this maneuverability, and there's this space for Samuel to be able to land the Malice and Verdicts and plus the Drifting Dark and just kind of kite around the middle of the team fight. You do that in the jungle, there's a little bit less space for him to kind of maneuver, and then you're going to play in and out of bushes. You're going to get off a lot of those team fights. You're going to land this play on a starting all over.
Valkyrie doesn't quite hit the stun. Starting all over does go fairly low, but the Sigil will be there to heal him up. Lucky Bread is going to back off as well. TSM not quite finding the entrance they were maybe looking for, and especially with that level lead Flash Axe now doesn't have, as Stasis does hit that level 6. Did blow that ultimate fairly soon, but 60 seconds, not too long of a wait before it's back up again.
Yeah, well, basically even. TSM don't have to worry too much. Their mid-game is fairly strong. They do need Lucky Bread to land a few more of these chains. He's been unable to kind of set that up, and now starting is pretty far forward.
Starting being very aggressive onto Flash X. Flash X doesn't have boots either. She's going to send out a couple of those Winter Spies, and Lucky Bread does get slept up in the front line. Now taking a lot of damage. It's level 4, remember, against starting level 6, so the innate level advantage is enough to take him fairly low. The Status just drifting around mid-air. Samuel just throwing Malice and Verdicts, and you could be quite terrifying. And TSM fairly scared now behind their turret.
Yeah, Lucky Bird's not being allowed to land the hooks until it's already a little bit too late, and they put massive pressure on him, but they get the kill!
Oh, starting all over to turret aggro, that last frame window, and now Flash X is going to chase down Status, but he is going to be fairly tanky, especially with that flash chugging away.
That's a good kill back for TSM. They kind of slowed down all of the siege power that was going to come out of Hollywood Hammers if they'd been able to set that up again. And I mean, they kind of now need the trespass. They need to be able to get that initial kill down, and they need that crowd control so the FlashX can get into position, because there's just been such a good amount of kiting coming up from Hollywood Hammers to never allow FlashX to be close enough to really get that rhyme damage going. He looks like he's going towards his Evil Harvest. I hope he then follows up into a Dragon's Eye and just really gets that deep stacking damage down. For that rhyme, and can really dish out the damage over the course of the team fight. Lucky Bread up in the lane was just keeping things pretty much even across the board, but starting to go over, starting to get that damage in, has a Sorrow Blade. You have to be worried about how much damage Lucky Bread is going to take before you can actually get in range to land more hooks and actually set up the team fight.
Yeah, Dragon's Eye finished for Status as well, so definitely a big power spike they want to take advantage of, and they're doing just that, moving themselves all towards the lane. But FlashX, he does have a Valkyrie available. Lucky Bread not so lucky, unfortunately, without that level 6, won't have Trespass either. So now it's now on to Hammers, just pushing this lane in. It's a very stalemate game at this moment. You can imagine TSM, we discussed in game number 1 how maybe playing a little bit more scared than they usually would. Valkyrie does come down, Chicken only taking the slightest bit of damage as he doesn't actually get stunned up with it at all. And again, FlashX comes in, but misses it and just doesn't really have anything to say about after that. Or in fact, Status is actually going to have something to say about it. It does get rooted up and taken down. I take that completely back. Oblivion's going to be there to sleep up 2 members, but it was already too late. Status, the death will result in Hammers now just backing off towards its turret.
Yeah, TSM starting to be able to push forward and just brute force their way into position. It's gonna get harder to do that as the game goes on, but lots of damage on the Chicken. The chain is still there, the Trespass.
Oh, Trespass was good, but that's even better. Starting all over, just trampolining forward, took advantage of the turret diving Lucky Bread to take out Best Chuck and now FlashX is on the run. Another trampoline forward, and the passageway actually just sentences him to death. But Stace is going to be here with the damage onto FlashX. Chicken going very low, still trying to retreat, takes another passageway through, still alive somehow, uses that sigil for the speed boost, and now Status kiting back, kiting away from Lucky Bread. Chicken manages to get the recall off, and all in all, that turned into a 1-for-1.
Ooh, great playback by starting all over to punish TSM for their aggression and looking for that dive. Maybe if the chain had lasted a little bit longer, we would have seen Chicken go down, but he survives. That's a good turn back for the side of Hollywood Hammers, but they have to be worried. TSM did manage to brute force their way into position. They managed to actually set up that team fight. Once the members of TSM actually get into position, it does seem it's very difficult for Hollywood Hammers to fully disengage unless they use the Arcane Passage to completely get out of there, and then you still have to worry about the follow-up from TSM. So TSM definitely showing that they're willing to take these aggressive team fights. Question is will starting all over style on them, because that playback by Petal, you have to be worried that he's going to be able to do that repeatedly as his damage and crit starts to rack up.
That's the scary point, when the crits start to rack up. Not a sentence I really want to hear, I'm not going to lie, especially when I'm against a weapon power Petal. As soon as she gets a couple of basic attacks down, Best Chuck and regeneration isn't going to be there, although he's taking it to him right now. A Tornado Trigger not really helping him out too much, as Best Chuck takes a massive chunk out of him. Valkyrie comes down, hits Chicken, but he isn't going to be just taken too low soon, as that fountain will come out and save him for the time being. That Trespass still not available for Lucky Breads. He can't quite find the hook targets. Takes a lot of poke damage, and FlashX now having to back off. Hammers trading up rather handily in this small engagement.
Yeah, Lucky Bread has kept those continuous chains onto multiple targets. It's better for TSM if Hollywood Hammers has to advance towards them. Not poke, but physically have to move forward. Or at least that Hollywood Hammers feels confident they can take that fight. Because that gives Lucky Bread the time to land the chains, and that gives him the ability to get more than one down. And we saw he pretty much sustained through that entire fight. FlashX was landing those Winter Spires, and that kept Lucky Bread fully sustained. Now the siege is in, and this is what Hollywood Hammers are looking for. TSM cannot retaliate.
Look at that damage. Those Madison Verdicts ripping Lucky Bread just out of the fight. He's going to have to back off. Best Chuck and he's going to be able to heal up. But starting all over is going really aggressive, just diving underneath that turret. That Crucible was forced to pop. And that means Lucky Bread's out of time and out of energy, or out of HP I should say. He's going to have to back off. Oblivion does land. FlashX is going to give him a little sidestep, but Hollywood Hammers, they're pressuring onto this turret, and that is going to fall in a heartbeat. Status isn't going to be there, just chasing off the rest of the members of TSM. He does get hooked in though, that's going to be a big problem. Valkyrie comes down, only finds the slow, but FlashX actually trades that one. Status almost falling down. Best Chug moving forward is going to be able to trade that 1-for-1 for the time being. FlashX just took that damage a little bit too much to the face, and Status just overstepping his mark.
Pull back in by Lucky Bread. Was looking to let Best Chuck NA dish out the damage, but starting all over isn't going to allow for him to do that, and they're just waiting in this bush. Ooh, he's got to land more than one hook now.
Oh, the hook does land, pulls him back in, but Lucky Bread going fairly low, and that does mean Best Chuck is just going to be able to find the kill. As TSM, they find yet another one on the board, but they're still down a turret.
Yeah, TSM's clawing their way back into this game. Gold is more or less even. Now they can take themselves a pretty easy and free gold miner. This will actually heal up Lucky Bread. And there's actually a huge amount of sustain on the side of TSM. If fights go long enough, once we get towards the later portion of the game, where more of those items are in for the damage dealers of TSM, we could see kind of just this endless rotation of healing and tanking and switching up of targets and making it difficult for the side of Hollywood Hammers to finish off any one target. That assumes that Hollywood Hammers don't set up good sieges around these objectives. Every time they manage to do that, we see how far TSM is pushed before they can even consider retaliation, and that's where Hollywood Hammers composition will win things out for them. They just have to avoid the hard engages from TSM.
That laying of CC that I talked about a minute ago is exactly what they need to lay down. But at the moment, it's really just been Flash X just missing the mark on the Valkyries. It's not mattered all too much because TSM do have the kill lead and the gold lead to boot. But with Hammers now getting stronger and stronger by the minute, and with their siege composition just knocking down these turrets like their bricks of Jenga, it's going to be a little bit harder for TSM to actually come back into this fight unless they actually force something, and then they've still got to get through Chicken. If Hammers play this right, this could be a very, very easy turret for them. Although passageway from Chicken is very aggressive, Oblivion does come out, isn't going to sleep anybody, and TSM just jump at that opportunity and just cut down Starling all over. Chicken now on the run, and Saints is going to get chased by Flash X and Lucky Bread. A chain does land, he gets tugged back in, and that'll be TSM finding a two-piece.
And Hollywood Hammers lose that fight because they stopped sieging. They tried to hard engage. They went underneath the turret with the arcane passage. That's your escape route, guys. You don't want to go that far to make a play like that. And TSM instantly punished them because Lucky Bread no longer needs to walk into that endless barrage of fire coming out from the Samuel. He's able to just land those hooks, gets off a trespass onto 2, and at this point, starting all over, he does plenty of damage, but he can't be in range of Flash X. They also got a Valkyrie onto 2 of the major targets. It was starting all over and Chicken, and Status was pretty much boxed out of that fight. TSM want the side of Hollywood Hammers to hard engage onto them because they can just take those fights again and again.
That was just a bit of a confusing move from Chicken. Like you said, there was no need to go aggressive. Just chunk down the turret, just sit there. But now TSM have taken that lead and just put it to good use. Hammer's now lost a turret. I mean, we've now got Best Chuck sitting at 4 items. Starting all over, not quite there yet. He's only got the lucky shot in his inventory. No monocle for him just yet. And now Hollywood Hammers, they need to be able to play They can't just play TSM's game. They need to play a little bit more passively. They are going to be able to get lane priority here, but Flash X from over the wall is going to be a bit of a deadly combo if he can land that Valkyrie yet again. Lucky Bread gets chunked out. Hammers, if they can keep repeating this, they can keep forcing these objectives happen.
Yeah, the more poke they land, the better off the team fight starts out for them. If Lucky Bread is fairly low, they can either take him out of the picture or ignore him entirely. He's not a major damage source. The value that Lucky Bread gets is when he lands lots and lots of hooks, he can just continue to body forward and force you to have to deal with him. If the hooks don't land and he's poked low, they can just instantly get all of the damage onto Flash X, and they try and go very deep on the
Speaking
engage.
about poking low, yeah, that's exactly what happened. They jump straight onto Best Chuck and annihilate him, and now Lucky Bread is on the wrong side of the fight. This time the aggressive play worked out as Chicken did use that passageway into the Bright Bulwark. Status will find the kill onto Lucky Bread, and now Flash X is trying to find the kill on Starting All Over, who went for an aggressive tower dive and just gives up his own life.
Okay, well, Starting All Over, he got a little greedy on that one, but that fight worked out for the side of Hollywood Hammers because the engage after Flash X was literally removed from the team fight. He had to use his boots, he had to run all the way out of the Bright Bulwark, and at that point, you've got Best Chuck pretty much left to the devices of the damage coming out from the side of Hollywood Hammers. That's where a hard engage kind of works for them, but it's a hard engage setup after they've literally poked the jungler out of existence. He doesn't exist, and Lucky Bread was also at half health as well. So they can hard engage, but only after, significant amounts of setup. And yeah, just a little too aggressive by Starting All Over to go underneath that turret. get punished back. I mean, it's been a while since anybody's seen a Rhyme. He's banned so much, maybe he just forgot how much value Flash X can possibly get on that hero.
Oh man, I mean, as soon as you see him stack a fortified HP, I'm 100% certain starting all over just went, oh man, this is a bad situation I've got myself into, boys. Lyra, can you bail me out? And Chicken's like, yeah, have a sigil, mate. And then that was literally it. And then he was ended, basically. Can become unusually tanky, but I mean, having Ryan banned all the time, like you said, maybe they're just not used to it. TSM now taking a very aggressive stance against this Kraken. Chain does land, and that's a trespass in. That's actually going to be starting all over, instantly deleted. That's exactly what they needed with that Valkyrie hitting in the top of his head. Flash X actually picks up 2 kills there. His status now is left to defend all alone.
Yeah, you have to kite. This is where I said TSM earlier in the game. They want to take their fights in the jungle and status. Oh, goodbye, sir.
Ace.
He's going to be gone. They'll eventually take that Crystal Sentry. They'll get the Kraken as well. They'll push up the lanes. Everything now in favor of TSM, but they want those fights in the jungle where you're retreating back into smaller choke points on the lane. The lane is huge. You've got all the space to maneuver. You've got ability to go into bushes, out of bushes. But when you're in the jungle and your entire team has to move in pretty much in the same direction and you're retreating back around corners, there's always the potential that someone's going to land just the right skill shot. Lucky Bread was able to land the necessary hook for them to be able to set that up, and it only really took him hooking on the starting all over to make that play happen. And there was a little bit of slow from Flash X. Everything comes together for TSM, and now they're looking to fight back and take this to game 3.
Right now, you got to put it on Hammers and say, are you playing the composition that you've actually drafted? Are you playing this siege-style poke composition that just chunks TSM fairly low and then goes for an engage? Or are you playing this like I'm playing Rona, starting all over? You're jumping into situations where maybe it's not necessary. They've got a lot of damage down to this Kraken though to start off. Flash X is going to be able to do a fair bit of damage from range as well. Those Winter Spires now, he's got a couple of items under his belt. Great Bright Bulwark comes out. That's going to be a big Oblivion as well. It's going to get blocked. Trispas actually gets blocked completely by starting all over, but he trampolines into the team fight again, and he ends up just getting taken out. TSM, they might just go for the victory here. There's already one massive damage carry down for Hammers, and they've just taken one of the turrets. Valkyrie hits 2 members, and now Chicken's on the forefront of the damage. Lucky Bread just tanking up the turret in the meantime. Flash X is going to knock down the second turret. The Vein Crystal is going to be next on the board for them, and they take game number 2 and send this to a 3-game series.
Yeah, TSM are able to find the necessary team fights after Hammers give them pretty much what they wanted. I said Hammers don't want to fight in the jungle because when you're fighting in the lane, there's a clear direction. You're pretty much